I used to attend this dance class that was kind of like an open, come as you are kind of class where it was lightly facilitated. And there was about maybe 30 people in the room. And I remember going repeatedly and seeing the same dude not following instructions. And at first I was amused. And then I started to get annoyed because he was breaking the container, but seeming to enjoy the process of breaking the container more than participating in the field in an upholding kind of way. So, for example, in this dance class, you can almost pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're not harming other people and harming yourself. So like he would often lay in the ground on the ground and just kind of like feel himself and just slowly move and stuff like this. But there were parts of the dance where clearly you were supposed to get up and be way more energetic. Sometimes we were told to take a partner and do things. And oftentimes he would just refuse. And on the dance floor, if you're laying down, you take up way more space than if you're standing up. And also people need to avoid hurting you and like stepping on you. So they have to dance around you. And so you kind of call attention to yourself. I believe that if the facilitation says, get up and do XYZ, but you don't feel it, obviously listen to your body and do what you have to do. But this guy, week after week after week after week, would never follow the facilitation. So to me, I feel like that was narcissistic in that he was using the field for himself in some kind of way. Like he enjoyed dancing with other people. I doubt he could feel the same if he did the same by himself in his living room, right? There was something about kind of like breaking the rules when other people are witnessing you, when there are rules, you could say, that that made him happy. But I kind of felt used, I felt like he wasn't doing what his body felt. He was doing what his ego felt, because there's no way that week after week after week after week, not even once, when you choose to be in a facilitated environment, you never feel like following the facilitation, especially because he wasn't a newbie. It was really, really clear. Sometimes I was partnered with him and he was a great dance partner. I had a lot of fun dancing with him. So he wasn't like scared, like if you're scared and you can't get up off the floor, that's different. And I remember this other lady who came, she only came once. She came a whole hour late when it's only a 2-hour class. So to me, that was breaking the container. In this class, the facilitator allowed you to come about 10, 15 minutes late. Like she would kind of like allow you to slide in like that. And she wouldn't reprimand you, or she wouldn't like lock the door or anything like that, or say, sorry, you're not allowed in because we've already started. At this point, the field was so deep in our processes that to have that newcomer come in really, for me, hurt my sense of safety. Like we had developed some kind of trust with each other by going on a journey together. And in the midpoint of that journey, she just walks in. And again, she's using the field for herself. I don't know why she was an hour late, but I could also see that she was annoyed by the facilitation. And, at one point we had to like have partners and then groups, and you could tell she really didn't want to do it. In which case I think she should have just stepped aside and not done it, or just made it very clear that she wants to dance by herself or whatever. But she was really annoyed and did it anyway in a resentful fashion. And I felt like it was emotionally violent to be in her presence. If you're in a container that's meant to be facilitated, then allow yourself to be facilitated. And if for some reason it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. But what I felt that these two people were doing were stealing energy from the field by doing what they wanted to do, regardless of what the group was meant to do, the intention of the facilitator. Like you're supposed to basically trust the intention of the facilitator. And personally, I don't think the facilitator was like so faulty that you have to start doing your own thing to stay safe. I've definitely experienced that, where the facilitator is so faulty that you kind of have to like make up your own program to end until the end of the session time, because the facilitator is unsafe, you know. But in this case, the facilitator is really experienced, really on point. I like her facilitation, and I don't think there's any reason to pointedly not follow what she had what she had in mind for us to do. So to me, what these two people represent are people who are using the field but not upholding the field. And when you're in a field, when you're doing group work, there's some sort of responsibility to uphold the container because everyone's doing work within that container. And if you're getting off on breaking the container, which is what I personally believe that first guy did, I think he was just getting off on breaking the container. The field was large enough that we could kind of handle it. But how many of those kinds of people can we handle before everything just breaks down and it's chaos? What if like half the people wanted to lay down and not follow the instructions? To me, then there would be no room on the dance floor to even follow the instructions. And personally, I would start to feel unsafe because the authority of the facilitators not being respected, the intention of the facilitators not being respected, like the facilitator is not being treated like a facilitator. Does that make sense? You have to treat the facilitator like the facilitator. Like it's like so simple. It's very Buddhist. Like if you treat your table like a table, then it can serve you like a table. But if you treat your table like the inside of the contents of your desk drawer, like there's like crap all over your table, it can't serve you like a table, right? Because you're mistreating it. So to me, you kind of need to treat the facilitator like the facilitator. And in the case of the second lady, I don't think she was getting off on breaking the rules or anything like that, but she was probably not ready to do group work that day. And to me, she stole a lot of energy from everyone in the room by coming very, very late. And I think the facilitator did not do a very good job of upholding the boundaries of the container by saying, sorry, you need to leave, you're way too late. The latest you can come in is 15 minutes late and you're an hour late. We're deep in our process and sorry, please come next time. You're welcome next time, but please come on time next time. The facilitator did not do that. So I lost some trust in the container. I lost some trust in the facilitator that day. So yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight through these stories. The idea that when you're a part of a field, when you're doing group work, you have some responsibility towards the container and the experience of other people. Like you're asking for that by showing up to a group. And these two people are examples, in my opinion, one person totally having fun and the other person feeling like tight and resentful and scared of not really being like really a part of the group, but kind of like doing their own thing. I will share one story of a facilitation experience I had that was quite poor, and basically what you can do in a situation like that. So earlier I mentioned, you know, kind of having to do your own thing when the facilitator is highly untrustworthy. Like once I went to a different dance event where the workshop, when I showed up on time, the facilitator was not ready at all and needed our help to like clean the space and make it ready, which I thought was untoward. The facilitator is completely responsible for making sure the space is ready to go way before start time. And so that was already bad. We had enough people to do pairs and she wanted to do a lot of pair work that day, but since she wanted to do work, she would join one of the pairs and make it a threesome. So that would mess everything up in that like threesome would take way longer to do their exercises than the rest of us pairs. So everything took longer than it should because she was doing her own work during the workshop. To me, that's wrong. The facilitator shouldn't be doing their own work during the workshop. If we were missing one person and she needed to like come in to like create a pair, that's slightly different. Or if in that case she had to create a threesome, then that's slightly different. But she was kind of expressing how much she needed this workshop for herself because something recent had happened in her real life and she needed to process it, and therefore she needed this workshop to process it. So the facilitator wanted to use the workshop to do her own work. So who's masculine and who's feminine? she's being feminine. So who has to be masculine? So by her being feminine, she forced the participants to be masculine and hold space for her, which is completely wrong. It's a perversion. She's supposed to be masculine, we're supposed to be feminine, and we're supposed to be doing our work while she witnesses us, because witnessing is highly important. When she was inserting herself into the exercises unnecessarily, there was no one watching the room. There was no one watching, like making sure things were safe. There was no one making sure people were doing the exercises correctly according to instructions. Sometimes people go way off course because of some reason. They have to like kind of be brought back into line, you know? And she wasn't doing that. And there was no witnessing. And therefore, there was a less sacred quality to what we were all doing, because we had to do the work and witness ourselves at the same time. So it was a hermaphroditic, less transformational experience. And on top of that, she looked at her watch. She's like, oh my God, we're already 20 minutes over, but we have so much more to do. Is it okay if we like add another 20 minutes or whatever? And everyone in the room was okay with that. But then she went on for another hour, and I think that went against pretty much everyone's boundaries. So this person was being feminine when she was supposed to be masculine. She didn't create the space properly for us to do the work. And then she was in the space, like trying to do her own work in that space. To me, this is a very poorly led event. I actually enjoyed myself because I enjoyed interacting with the other participants. The thing is, I couldn't go as deeply as I probably could have otherwise if that facilitator was more trustworthy, obviously. And the other thing was, I realized that the container was broken quite early on, and then I had to severely lower my expectations of what was going to happen. I think it would have been actually a little bit valid to even ask for your money back, because that was not a very well led experience. However, do you think that container is still perfect? I think it depends on what you mean, in that, to me, a very deeply held container where shit goes down, you know, but the facilitation is great and the boundaries are upheld very, very well, then that's kind of like the quintessentially perfect container. This faulty container where whatever the intentions of the facilitator is more like working on herself than holding space for the group, is that still perfect? Then I think you have to go back into the universal kind of life thing where everything in life is perfect, even the uncomfortable experiences. But to me, it's not the same alchemical quality of a very deeply held container where you can now do something different and shift something for yourself. Personally, I think a faulty container is just kind of like a missed opportunity and shows you the narcissism of the facilitator or the participants. Okay, so thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.